We are sorting out yet another split-ticket election day that saw voters sticking with what they've got at the top of the ballot. Races for federal office that were expected to be close were not, as Democrats beat Republicans on turnout. But Governor Chris Sununu once again was the exception as he continues to show how the GOP can win and win big statewide in New Hampshire. The governor joins us in studio this morning. Thanks for being here, Governor.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So what's the message that you're taking away from voters in this election?
Look, people want results. They want you to be yourself. They don't want any sense of extremism and ultra partisanship. And really, that's what New Hampshire is, right? We are a purple state. Whether the hard left wants to admit it or the hard right wants to admit it, we're a purple state. So at its core, be yourself, be genuine, connect on issues that people want. Getting elected to office isn't about payback or something in Washington. It's not about yesterday. It's really about what you're going to do for us tomorrow. So, I mean, that's the quick take, and then you got to earn it too. You got to get out the vote. You got to earn your own races. A lot of the folks that I thought would be successful on the Republican side and the State House side, I don't know if I can't tell you right now if they were knocking on as many doors. Well, I guess I can because they didn't win, right? You got to knock on the doors, engage with people, do the things you got to do to introduce yourself. And obviously, on the federal side, it is hard to unseat an incumbent. There's no doubt about it, given our late primary season, given that, these were all new candidates. They had to raise all their money again after tough primaries to reintroduce themselves. And obviously that always puts you at a little bit of kind of in the back seat. But it is winnable, but at its core, just be yourself. Don't be extreme and make sure you're going to deliver something for New Hampshire.
It looked very favorable heading into this for Republicans. On one national program, you said one of the messages you took from voters was that they were saying, quote, fix policy later, fix crazy right now. Explain what you meant by that.
Well, I think that's what the voters were saying. Yeah, look, I think the voters know that inflation is really bad. High gas prices, high electricity prices. They're very frustrated with the policies out of Washington. But my sense was they want that fixed, but they didn't buy into the fact that these individuals were going to be able to do it in the short term. And they were more concerned about the ultra partisanship down in D.C. So I think they said, look, if we have to fix policy later, so be it. But we're really done with candidates that run on the extremes.
Some conservatives are looking at these results and saying, see, look at what happens when Donald Trump isn't on the ballot. Republicans don't win. Do you agree with that analysis?
No, I won handily. I mean, no, Republicans still retain control of the House and Senate here in New Hampshire. I won as the governor at the top of the ticket. So, no, I don't think that has anything to do with it at all.
What about the future for Mr. Trump? You said already that you don't really like this idea that he might announce for president this upcoming week. And,
well, I just don't care. I mean, I don't. It's not that I like it or don't like it. It doesn't matter to me. I think if I were him, I would hope someone would explain to him that it's just a really, really bad idea for a variety of reasons. You have a runoff in Georgia that could just mess with. You don't even know who's won in Arizona. They're still counting the votes there. Even Nevada. I mean, you have Nevada who wants to be the first in the nation primary. Are you kidding me? I mean, can you get around to actually getting a result in the general election, and yet you want to be first in the nation? So all of those things kind of come into play. And by the way, aren't we all just kind of done with politics right now? Aren't we all just tired of it? Let's get back to, ad nauseum car commercials and pharmaceutical commercials. That is actually a win over the negative TV ads that we've just been inundated with. We want to spend time on Thanksgiving and with family and dealing with stuff, within our own families as opposed to this more political nonsense. Everyone needs a little bit of a break.
Is it time for Trump to let a new generation of conservative leaders step forward?
I don't think it's his decision to let a new generation of leaders. Look, I think a new generation of leadership is stepping forward. I think they're going to step forward. I think there's going to be a lot of folks on the Republican side and the Democrat side, by the way. I don't think Joe Biden is running. I think you're going to have a very robust, open seat, first in the nation primary right here happening in New Hampshire. And there's going to be a lot of candidates on both sides.
Clearly, the Dobbs decision was a big motivator for voters. And in the course of this election, you were kind of dismissive of the idea that abortion could be a bigger motivator than, say, inflation and pocketbook issues like the economy. Do legislative leaders in Concord, your fellow Republicans, need to re-examine some aspects of the abortion laws that passed, if not for anything else, just to take some of this pressure off and alleviate some of the voter anger that was communicated at the polls?
Sure. Well, look, I'd like to see more flexibilities put in there. I don't like this idea that we're criminalizing doctors. I think that's completely unnecessary. I'd like to see exceptions for rape and incest. Whether they can actually get that done, maybe they can, maybe they can't. I know it's going to be, it's almost a 50-50, right? Which is pretty exciting, just from a civic standpoint. How bills get passed will be determined on attendance. 400 representatives don't show up to vote on any bill ever, right? Because there's always, out of 400 people, someone gets sick, someone can't make it because of work. So you're always, attendance is going to really, really matter. It isn't just what we want to do, it's what you can do. My guess is that, Republicans will have a version of the budget, Democrats will probably have a version of the budget, and whoever gets the best attendance on the day of the vote will probably get their budget. That's really this odd dynamic that's going to happen, which forces both sides to work with each other, which means it's working pretty well for New Hampshire.
Let's talk a little bit about your long-term future here. In our debate, you made a commitment to voters that you would stick on as governor and not run for any other office for 2 years. Then, talking to ABC's David Muir on election night, you said you're not ruling anything out. Then later on CNN, you said you're likely not running for president right now, but you're going to be traveling around the country to talk to conservatives. So it sounds like you're a little bit all over the place on this.
No, look, my focus is obviously here in New Hampshire. I do think there is a great opportunity to take what we've done here and share it across the country, and I fully plan on doing that. I'm not all over the place on that. I think I've done it a little bit this past year. I think people are fascinated with our system here. We take it for granted. We're in New Hampshire. It's always been like this. But people don't understand how unique it is and how we do it. Local politics, local control, the ability that we don't have. How do you have a government if you don't have sales and income tax? Well, we believe in the locals to make the decisions for themselves, and hopefully empowering and inspiring that next generation, not out of the anger of partisanship, but the opportunity and of real good public service. So I love doing that, and I love sharing our message. I will definitely continue to do that across the country, but obviously the first priority is always right here, getting a good budget, understanding what's happening with inflation, energy prices, these issues that we really got to come to bear very severely in the next few months.
When are we going to get a definitive decision from you on a run for president?
Probably never. No, I mean, do you think I'm going to announce that No, look, I have no intention of running for president. I really don't. So, no. I don't know. Should I make an announcement that I'm not running?
I mean, you kind of have to, right? That's one of those things that eventually somebody's going to say, we need to know if you're in or out.
Well, I guess you'll see if my name's on the ballot in the First in the Nation primary. You'll probably... Look, I really have no intention of that, right?
You've been very critical of the Democrats in their low-key defense of First in the Nation primary. There are some who say that if you got into the First in the Nation primary, it would warp the process tremendously, essentially. All the other Republican candidates would just take a pass.
Yeah.
Do you worry about that?
Well, no, because I'm not trying to be rude, Adam, but I really have no plans on running. So no, I don't worry about that. Look, we have a huge responsibility to maintain it here. We do it right here. We do it different. It doesn't matter about name ID or any of that stuff. I can totally see if I were running for president that would come into play, but I really have no intention. But then you have to also remember, here's one for you. You have Nikki Haley and Tim Scott from South Carolina, the second state that will likely run. You could have 2 or 3 people from Florida, the third state, likely to run. So whether it warps that process or not, I guess you'll see in those states. But that'll be an interesting dynamic, to be sure.
All right. One last quick question here. Does what happened on Election Day change your perspective on congressional redistricting at all? We know not much is going to get through that House that's partisan, according to Leader Osborne. But do you think there's any difference now for you on congressional redistricting?
Oh, no. We did. Look, I was the only governor in the country not to sign the redistricting maps they sent me. They were gerrymandered. They were ultra partisan both ways. Democrats would have had a seat locked up for life. I just don't think that should happen. I don't think Republicans should have a seat locked up for life. I think if you want to boil down what's wrong with Washington, gerrymandering has screwed that place up because there are too many districts now, whereas we used to have 100 to 150 competitive races in this country. It's down to about 50 because of gerrymandering. I'm not going to let New Hampshire be part of that problem. I'm not going to own that, and nor should anybody. We're a purple state, whether you like it or not. We really are, and we want to make sure candidates on both sides of the aisle always have a shot to stand up and represent their constituents.
All right, Governor Chris Sununu, thanks for joining us on Close Up. I guess we'll see you back here around budget time.
All right, thank you, buddy.